All right, everybody, welcome to the 7th week of the EGL Waveline. This is your host, Xernian. I'm joined by Clutch, and we have a special guest today, Brown Ale from Collective. If you want to give us a quick introduction.
I'm Brown Ale, also known as Ale. I kind of been I've played a decent amount in uh, the tournament, amateur tournament scene, but mostly in other tournaments than you know full five mans. So it has been a pleasant experience.
Yeah, and I think it's your first time playing an EL this split. It's nice having you here. So I remember Cole messaged me. He was like, "Yo, we need to get Ale on the show next week," and I was like, "Yeah, okay,
Yes.
man." So we're very excited to have you on the show, my friend. And with that, we're gonna go right into what happened last week. I listened to some suggestions and feedback from other people. People are usually kind of confused what match we're talking about. So now we have a cool dotted line around which box we're talking about here. So, breaking it down from the beginning, we have a 2-0 for Aftermath Esports against Literal Monkeys Fire. We had a 2-0 for VBU Plutonium against Clown Gaming Jesters. We had a 2-0 for FTD Darken versus Hyperion Sword, and a 2-0. So this was our streamed match last week where we watched Brown Ale and his team take a 2-0 against Project Iconic. So we're circling back, looking at that. Yes, dotted line. 2-0 for Aftermath Esports. So this was actually a big series, I think. Literal Monkeys Fire going into the series actually undefeated. So I predicted 2-1 for Aftermath Esports, and I think Clutch, you said 2-0 for Literal Monkeys last week, and
I think I said 2-1.
2-1? Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah.
I think we all agreed that this was going to be a 3-game series, actually. So, looking at this, it's a 2-0 for Aftermath. You know, like I said, big upset going into this week. So, Clutch, take us away with a 2-0 Aftermath Esports.
Yeah, so I remember saying last week that I feel like if anyone was going to beat Little Monkeys, it was going to be Aftermath Esports. I remember that Aftermath beat them in BOL or something. I mean, obviously this isn't BOL, but I just thought that LTMK was basically there's only one team really, and it was Aftermath that could beat them. Aftermath kind of, I mean, they took the 2-0. It was a 33-minute and 30. Both games were 33 minutes, so they were kind of close. But it looks like the swap that they did, putting Ikazuchi AD and Pupper Please top lane, actually ended up working really well for them. Ikazuchi ended up popping 27 kills overall in the series, so he was definitely popping off. And this new look Aftermath looks pretty interesting. Now they're tied with Literal Monkeys, and obviously they have the head-to-head because they did win the 2-0. So they won when they played Little Monkeys 2-0. So there's a very good chance that Aftermath actually finishes first and Literal Monkeys finishes second. Now, obviously, we're in the last week. It's week 7. And we kind of talk about playoffs a little bit. If LTMK gets second, I honestly would rather play Aftermath than LTMK at this point. But maybe, some other team doesn't agree with me. Personally, I would rather say give me Aftermath. But it looks like this series that the swap worked out. They kind of just it looks like just beat them. I know Ale definitely has more to say, so I'm going to give it to Ale because he's going to give us some insight because I didn't really get to pay too much attention to the series as I was casting, and I didn't get to watch it back.
My observation, it's not really so much as watching like their last game, but my observations of that team is that they have a specific style that they like to play. And basically the way that you have to go about looking at your games against LTMK is you have to force them off that style that they're very familiar with. Basically put them on the back foot because if you play into it, I don't think that there is a team right now that is in the tournament that can basically punch at the same weight class in their style. So I think that if you want to beat LTMK, you have to go back through the games and then figure out what you're going to do about it.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, we were talking about this a little bit before we went live. We were talking about the team comps that both of the teams were really liking to play. We know Literal Monkeys, their coach Grant really likes picking that 5v5 style, like you mentioned, Ale, and what I really like what Aftermath did in this series is that we know that Jesus Juice is usually just blinded Kane or Viego and just kind of pops off, right? This guy is one of the star junglers that we pointed out throughout the entire season. So I think what Aftermath did was putting that high priority on that Kane pick, just saying, okay, we're just going to first pick blinded every single game. We're taking it away from Jesus Juice. And I think that's a big shout out to Convey doing really well on that Kane pick, and then everything else, like you said, Clutch, kind of falling into place with that roster swap between Pupper Please and Ikazuchi. And I think, yeah, like you said as well, Ale, the play styles between these two teams really was just fighting fire with fire. And, Aftermath, I mean, look at their logo. It's Aftermath Esports. They've got a lot more fire than Literal Monkeys does. And even though their sister name is Fire, I don't know. Seems kind of like a fire div. So my question for you, Ale, is looking at these two teams, Aftermath obviously putting themselves ahead with that head-to-head against Literal Monkeys now. Starting off in the playoffs, right? They're going to be going against, correct me if I'm wrong, Clutch, the 4th seed automatically.
Yeah, you don't get to pick your seed. You first goes against 4th, second goes against 3rd.
Yeah, so looking at the teams that could take 4th here, so Literal Monkeys I think is solidified into that 2nd place seed now after this loss. So you have, let's see, you have VBU Plutonium, FTD Darken, and Collective Experience, so your guys' team, that are the other 3 teams right here that are so far clinched. So for that 4th seed team, it's most likely going to be between you guys, FTD, and VBU. I think if you are looking at this, who do you think, right, would have the most favorable matchup against Aftermath in that very first round, starting in that winner's bracket?
So it really does depend on the draft. I think that a lot of the situations that you're going to, or that are going to be involved, is going to be based around the draft. I think that if we're talking about in a perfect scenario draft wise, I think Collective has a chance to beat. Sorry, we're talking about Aftermath. My bad. I think that Collective, my team doesn't really. We have a kind of a bad matchup when it comes to that because they kind of. Their style definitely is more favorable than ours. I think that VBU probably has a good chance at winning. And I think FTD is kind of my middle between the two, right?
Yeah.
I think that VBU might actually have a stylistic advantage in that scenario. But draft can always change that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, looking into this, right, we don't really know. I think a lot of seeding can change. Cole was complaining about it earlier. He's like, man, I gotta do a bunch of tiebreakers later tonight. So, so looking at that, um, yeah, I think big upset. Literal Monkeys, I think, looking really, really strong going into this week. Obviously, not so much. So I think we're all looking at, they're going against Project Iconic this week. So if they're actually dropping this series, then it really shows a lot of weaknesses in their team style and team fights and overall. But with that, we're gonna look at that next series. We have a 2-0 for VBU versus Clown Gaming Jesters. This is I feel like a cleaner series from VBU overall. I think kills are silent. He was like, "Yeah, I believe in our team, man. We're like, we're here to win." I think Clown Gaming Jesters. Correct me if I'm wrong on this again, Cole. Are they still able to make playoffs?
Yep, Clown Gaming, Iconic, and Hyperion all can still make the playoffs.
That's crazy. Week 7 can still make playoffs, and they're 1-5 in the season. So, Clutch, I know you're a VBU fan. Looking at this series, right? What does it say about VBU? I think they're having kind of a rough early season. They're now 4-2 in series. So, picking up more of these wins, and they go against Aftermath this week. So, how do you feel like they're feeling after this specific series?
So obviously VBU's on a roll. They have won, let's see, how many weeks have they run in a row? 3? Yeah, they've won 3 weeks in a row. They beat FTD, they beat Hyperion, and they beat Clown Gaming. I mean, it's not the best teams in the league, but they're still on a 3-0 run, basically. Now, Aftermath's going to be a tough test because Aftermath did just take down Literal Monkeys. And I feel like VBU to me is like they're going to be top 4 most likely. I think VBU and FTD should get top 4. I mean, we'll see because Collective and FTD are playing each other today. But I feel like VBU is like a top 4 team. Can they win round 1? I think it'll be very close. It'll depend on who they play in round 1. But I mean, this is where VBU was last season. Literally, like, I'm pretty sure they got like second or third in the regular season and then ended up winning it all, basically. So VBU is kind of in the same spot. They have some really solid players. They've started getting games down with their actual lineup. They finally solidified a play style, and I feel like they're going to give Aftermath at least a run for their money this week. And potentially they could play each other round 1. So this could be a potential playoff matchup. And VBU against Clown Gaming, I feel like everyone kind of had VBU. Clown Gaming has been very they haven't found their footing this split. I mean, everything just revolves around with their top laner at this point. It's just, can this guy carry on Darius? He's dropping pentakills and still losing series. So, like, I don't know what more. I mean, I guess he could do. But yeah, I think VBU going forward, they've got a really good chance. They're already locked in the playoffs, and we'll see how they do round 1 because whoever they play round 1 is going to be a tough test for them. And I feel like they're not favored against LTMK or Aftermath, and I feel like that's most likely who they're playing round 1.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, VBU, like you said, VBU just has solidified that playstyle. They know what they want to do. I think Old Man Genetics taking that ADC role has really helped them out. And then, like you said, for Clown Gaming, their top laner, CH Gaming, just like, how do you get this guy to 1v9, right? If they can't get the right resource, if they can't play around that 4-1 properly, then it kind of falls apart on the rest of the map. So, Ale, looking at these two teams, you have VBU, right? And Clown Gaming Jesters. So, Clown Gaming goes against Hyperion Sword this week. So, I think if the stars align, like Cole said, they can make playoffs. So, if you're Clown Gaming, how do you turn around like this very last week, right? You're going against Hyperion Sword. You two are at the bottom of the standings, right? So what are you looking to do this week?
So, Clown Gaming, really, I think that if they continue the way they are, they'll probably beat Hyperion. The major issue, and this is what I think that they probably need to reconcile with, is I don't think that they should count Hyperion out, even though Hyperion has been, like, not necessarily the best team in the league. I think that if you still, don't respect your opponent, you're still going to, potentially, drop maybe the first game, right? And then you're basically coin flipping, game 2, game 3. So I think that that's the big thing that they'll have to do, is I think they'll have to kind of steel themselves and make sure that they aren't playing sloppy.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think that going into this week, I think when we have Silence on the show as well, he's talked about really just Clown Gaming, I think, really needs to sit down and have a more clear and concise game plan. I know a lot of teams can either have no game plan at all, or they have a coach that tells them way too many things at once. It's like, oh, okay, like, but we need to have like this exact scenario happen, or we're gonna lose, and then something goes wrong, and then everything falls apart from there. I think Clown Gaming really needs to have one clear idea going into Hyperion and just going with confidence, right? Like you said, I think on paper, obviously Clown Gaming, I think, has a really strong roster, and matching up against Hyperion, then, like you said, probably more Clown Gaming favored. But with that, we're going to move on. Look at that next series. We have FTD Darken taking a 2-0 against Hyperion Sword. So FTD Darken had a strong week 1, and then they kind of faltered a little bit, and then coming back, they were picking up a lot more wins. So they have won their last 2 weeks. So they won against Hyperion, just looking at this one, and the week before that, they won against Project Iconic. So Clutch, looking at FTD Darken, right? This team is currently 4-2. Their last week is now against, what we're looking at, they're going against Collective. So Clutch, looking at FTD Darken and Hyperion Sword. And this series in particular, FTD Darken, Do you think this was just kind of like they were just better? They just showed up and played the game and they won.
I mean, I feel like the gap between the bottom 3 teams and the rest of the league is just like it's pretty massive. The bottom 3 teams just haven't been able to get anything rolling this season, and if I remember correctly, I actually Clown Gaming beat Collective. I was gonna say I think they've only beat each other, but that's not true. But like you're 1-5, and 2-5 is gonna be playoffs because that someone has to make it, right? Someone in the 6th place has to make it. So 2-5 is going to be in the playoffs. And I don't know. Going into this, I feel like I'm not. If I'm on any of those teams and I make it, I feel like going into the playoffs 2-5 is like okay, well, we barely got in, and we're going to be playing a top 4 team that's going to lose. And I feel like it's just the gap as of right now between those teams is just so massive between the 5 teams and then everybody else. Now, who knows? Maybe these teams, they get something together and they make a miracle run in the playoffs and go far. But to me, I don't really see any of these teams doing that. I think each team has like one really good player that can really pop off if needed. And they're really trying, but the rest of the team, it's like one person can pop off and absolutely just destroy everyone. But one person's one person. You still have 4 other teammates on the Rift. And even if you are dropping pentas left and right, you're winning your lane. If everybody else is losing, then like there's only so much you can do. And I feel like with Hyperion last week, I feel like it's just the Inferno SK show and how much can he do. I mean, we saw it week 5. Roulette was kind of helping him out. And if you're Hyperion, I feel like those 2 are your players to play around. And I mean, this is the week, right? Week 7, Clown Gaming Hyperion. This is for playoffs. Yes, Iconic can beat LTMK and make it interesting, but I feel like the match, whoever wins Clown Gaming Hyperion's making it into the playoffs. So we'll see how that's going to go. I think both teams have a few really, really good players that are underrated. And I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Hyperion pulls out something spicy. Maybe Inferno, SK, and Roulette, they find the secret sauce like Damwon. They got Canyon and Showmaker, and they just go in and they absolutely steamroll. But I feel like Feed the Dream just right now is just they're on fire. They're a better team. They're 3-1 in their past 4 weeks, so they've just been playing exceptionally well.
Yeah, and I think you were talking about this as well. And we talked about this a little bit beforehand, where Hyperion, I feel like just even looking at their drafts, the way, like, I can't even really tell what they want to do sometimes. In both games, they were red side, and they banned Caitlyn because Hello 301 has like some insane win rate on it, right? And then FTD opts to take Jinx. And for people that don't know, Jinx wants to kind of scale up. Caitlyn is putting on a lot of early pressure, so she can put Jinx behind early. So Jinx actually can lose to Caitlyn early, right? So Hyperion bans Caitlyn, and then they pick Jinx. So then my question is that going into that next game, they did the same thing. They banned Caitlyn and then let FTD have Jinx. So my concern, like draft standpoint for Hyperion, is maybe you drop the Caitlyn ban, right? And then, you let them have Jinx, or knowing that they might pick that, or know that they're going to take Caitlyn, and then you have another answer into it. So I don't know, maybe Hyperion wanted to have that, or maybe they opted into it, but at the same time, I feel like even just looking overall what they were picking, I can't even really tell what Hyperion wants to do. And I think that really reflects in their standings, of course, being 1-5. So my question then for you, Brown Ale, you guys have gone against Hyperion Sword in that first week. You guys took a 2-0 against them. So even in the first week, how do you think this team has changed? Do you think they've changed at all? Have they gotten better or worse?
So, I mean, obviously they have gotten better, right? Like you get better by playing with your teammates, but the problem is like how much better, like the rate at which they're getting better, right? Um, right now, like I think that they have kind of been on the same pace as everyone else, right? Um, just because, hey, we're we're all improving as we build team cohesion, everything like that. But the one thing that I really would like to see out of Hyperion is that they really need to show that like they've been putting in the hours this week, right? If they want to make playoffs, they better be putting in a lot more time and trying to you know bring up the rate at which they're improving to maybe surpass some of these to surpass Clown Gaming, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, looking at these two teams, FTD are the opponents for you guys this week, and Hyperion Sword, I think, really, really needs to do something. When you're at the bottom of the standings, like Clown Gaming, Iconic, and Hyperion, right? You're 1-5, right? You're in week number 7. Um, even even in week 4 and 5, every win matters, right? I think in such a short season like this, like we talk about every single week. Whether you 2-0 a team versus 2-1 a team really can make or break your playoff run. So we're going to look at that last series, which was the stream series of last week. It was Collective Experience, which was you guys, and Project Iconic. So I think this series we had actually going to a 3-game. We thought it was going to be a little bit closer than what we actually saw. So Ale, since this was your series, I'll let you go first. You guys obviously took a 2-0 against Project Iconic. What were your kind of expectations going into this series and, your expectations coming out of it?
So our expectations going into the series was we probably were going to 2-1, just because we have a statistical advantage based on data I've collected. That we just kind of have that minor statistical advantage. I'm not going to relay those details, but I was expecting a 2-1. Um, I did not expect the 2-0. The 2-0 just kind of happened due to like we just played the split the team up and kind of uh caused them to run around a little bit better than they did. So uh I don't know. That's how it kind of went.
Yeah, when we saw, obviously, when you guys, like, I really liked what you guys picked game number 1, taking that Twitch for Marty, both games actually. Like you were saying, it was really, really aggressive. I think the way that you guys played really surprised a lot of people, especially me and Clutch. Just the way that it was like constant fighting back and forth between you guys. There was so much action. That 46-minute game number 1, it was just back and forth. It was so crazy. We were like, "Yo, what is going on? When will this game end?" Um, I really like what you guys have done. I think in terms of how you guys have developed over the season as well. I think just overall, really liked your picks going into it, and the way that I think Project Iconic played as well wasn't bad by any means. But I do think that the way, like you said, the way that you guys played versus how they played really gave you guys that advantage by the end of it. Um, the way that I think that Project Iconic was playing there, like, they really picked that Fiora. Actually, my question for you, looking at that first game, right? You picked Urgot. You knew that you were blinding Urgot in that first game. And then Project Iconic's top laner Taco Cat actually chooses to answer with Fiora, right? So my question is, how are you feeling about like them picking Fiora into you? Is this like an ego pick, or like were you confident that and you're like, no, 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 I'm
So
fine.
that pick is weird, right? Because normally Fiora is like just a really solid top laner right now. I don't think Taco Cat has the experience necessary to play Fiora, um, based on his match history, and then also how I felt like he played in game. I think that if he really wants to, um, if he really wants to, bring in wins, I think he should go back to what he kind of knows. I don't think that it's good to pick up something completely new in the middle of a season for competitive, because there's also, if even if he has played it like maybe like 1 or 2 games in solo queue or um maybe draft pick, right? I think that the difference between competitive and your solo queue environment is just vastly different. That just picking Fiora isn't going to win you every single game, even though the
Right.
champion's pretty strong.
Yeah, and when you're playing Fiora, right, you either have to dedicate yourself to being in that side lane or saying like, okay, I'm gonna TP down and fight with the team and stuff like that. Um, yeah, overall, and looking at that second game too, you got your infamous Mundo pick. So, my question is actually, with this Mundo pick, we've seen you play it against VBU, where literally like they could not stop you in that side lane. I think you're 0-4-0. Like it kind of looked like you really didn't do anything, but you would have had to watch the game to see that you were just like unstoppable in the side lane.
Yep.
So yeah, go ahead.
That's just kind of the nature of Mundo. I think that Mundo, as a champion, kind of forces you to play his game in his current state. Um, so if you know how to do that, you're going to succeed. But if you don't, then you got to figure something out pretty fast. So
Yeah, do you think your team tends to like having you just sit in that side lane on the Mundo pick, or is it just kind of like oh, I'm feeling the Mundo guys. All right, lock it in.
um, so normally the way that we've been so the thing is like I'm going to be honest. We normally pick it whenever it's just not banned, right? Um, just because like the thing is like if I can force you to play my game, then like you're going to have to kind of commit to that, and that commitment, due to my teammates, actually like my teammates are the ones who actually follow through on that strategy though, right? Like without them, I kind of can't really do my job. So
Yeah, I like that confidence for sure going into it. So, Clutch, looking at this series as someone who is also there for Collective and Project Iconic, how close did you feel like game number one was, right? And it was really, really close, I think. Especially Datholo on that Vagar. It's like the
Mhm.
longer the game went, we were like, yo, Vagar is about to pop off. He's about to
Yeah.
one shot everybody.
Yeah, that game that was a really, really close game. Anyone could really take the game, honestly. It was back and forth the entire time. I was like, all right, well, Collective have the lead now. Oh, Iconic has the lead. Oh, Collective has the lead. It was like going really back and forth. And I honestly was like, I have no clue who's going to win. But I feel like whoever took game one was most likely just going to kind of win game two, just because I feel like if you lose that kind of game, your mental's out the window or a little bit. On top of that, like again, Collective did their classic. All right, we're going to pick the Mundo because it's left open. We are going to split and end the game, and you're not going to know what to do against it. And clearly, it worked because they were able to win the game in just under 30 minutes. The side of Project Iconic, I remember, like they didn't know what to do. Like they were getting split to death, and they were just you could see counter on the Nocturne trying to force stuff, trying to go in, but it just didn't matter. Mundo just ended up ending the game and basically just popping off. So I feel like again, this is something that Collective does that you have to take respect to, and if you don't, you are just going to end up eating a loss. Like I don't know, teams really need to start respecting this, and I feel like sometimes they are just like, all right, well, we can handle it, and they can't handle it, and they end up losing. It's one of those where like you have to ban it, kind of like when we talked about in EDL when you kind of have to ban Lespank's Kaisa, or you're just asking for a loss, and they didn't ban it, and then they lost 2-0. I'm like, but why? Just take it away. Like that was the reason they won. So I feel like it's one of these like picks that they have that you just have to ban. Like regardless of what the meta is, it doesn't matter. You got to take it away.
Just ban it, bro.
Otherwise, my boy Ale is gonna just absolutely split down and run into the Nexus at like 20 minutes, and then you're like, oh no, this is not fun. But yeah, I think Collective they look pretty solid. I think they can make some noises in the playoffs. It does depend who they're up against, but I feel like this team could make some noise and kind of be that underdog team. For the side of Project Iconic, they kind of needed to win this series because now they're against LTMK. Yes, LTMK lost, but that was against Aftermath. Aftermath's a good team. Project Iconic's going to have to do something special to be able to take down the LTMK this week. Otherwise, their season's over. You got to win this week to just have a chance at making it because tiebreakers are very fun, and I can't wait to do them tonight. But
Can't wait to watch
yeah,
them all over them tonight.
dude, it's gonna be some like 4-way tie somehow, and I'm gonna have to like pull out the goddamn notepad, pull out the spreadsheet,
Pull
type
out
in
the
the
TI
numbers.
84 plus, bro.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's gonna be a really fun time. Hopefully, there's no tiebreakers. Maybe there's only 2-way ties. So whoever just has a head-to-head wins. That would be really nice. That would make my job really easy. Please don't have 3-way ties. Otherwise, I will cry.
Yeah, so I think this actually segues very nicely into this next series we're going to look at with our predictions. It is Literal Monkeys versus Project Iconic. So we were just talking about Project Iconic. Obviously going against Collective, right? AL, you're that monster in the side lane. They have to answer you, take that Mundo away from you, right? But then we were talking about Literal Monkeys. So AL, I'll let you go ahead and start. You said 2-1 for Literal Monkeys. I know you talked about their playstyle, how they really like to fight these 5v5s. Meanwhile, Iconic couldn't even answer a 4-1. Do you think they have a better chance going against Literal Monkeys?
I think that against the Literal Monkeys, Iconic has a chance, right? My 2-1 is mainly like I think that they have a chance to at least take a game. It's going to be close, but I think they can at least squeeze a game out of Literal Monkeys. I don't think that like again, I don't think that it's going to like I don't think it's going to be a stomp. I think that it's just going to be like one really close game that Iconic's going to pull off Literal Monkeys.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be something that goes wrong. Like I think Project Iconic is really, really fighting against you guys too, especially in that first game. There's gotta be like one thing, that happens, and then oh, we lost guys. Like oh, we accidentally like flipped Baron or flipped Elder, and then oh, our Nexus exploded, right? I think Clutch and I did say 2-0. I think overall, just because of how consistent Literal Monkeys has been, I'm not gonna like hate on Grant or anything. I really like how he drafts for Literal Monkeys, but sometimes, you really think like you just pick the wrong stuff. Sometimes I do that too. It's okay. Um, so Clutch, looking at Literal Monkeys too, you said 2-0 for them. Especially coming out of a loss against Aftermath Esports, do you think it's actually more likely that they go to a 3-game series?
Um, I feel like Literal Monkeys probably take a 2-0. However, maybe coming off of a loss last week against Aftermath, um, that LTMK kind of has shown that they can be beaten. And maybe Project Iconic kind of looks at what Aftermath did and they try to replicate it. I think it's very likely LTMK 2-0s. I feel like, this is one of those matches that if you are LTMK, you kind of, when you're looking at the schedule now, you're kind of like scratching this one off as a 2-0 win. You still have to come and play. But, with what we've seen from Iconic so far, it's very unlikely that they win. And I feel like there's not a huge chance they take a game. However, this doesn't mean they can't do it because last week a bunch of people were like, LTMK is probably going to win. There's better. And then Aftermath ended up winning. So Iconic could win. I think if Iconic win, this would probably be the biggest upset of the entire season. I would just say that right now. And that would be pretty hype. I would love to see it happen, even though I would have to do tiebreakers. I still think it'd be hilarious. And it would be super cool for Iconic, to kind of end the season off with a bang and then potentially slide into the playoffs. It'd be cool. But I feel like LTMK, even though they lost last week, I feel like this is probably just a series that they kind of just end up showing up and kind of just running over Iconic and winning.
Yeah, so looking at their rosters even, so Ale, I know you guys just went against Project Iconic. You played against Taco Cat. And seeing how Barry Donut has played as well, how do you think this top lane matchup goes between them? Who do you think it favors?
Um, so it depends, right? I think that if Taco Cat, right, kind of uh if he plays stuff that he's very comfortable on, I think that he might be able to um go roughly even in the matchup, right? I think that's kind of what he should do. Um but comparatively, I think that the top lane matchup is actually going to be defined mostly by junglers this set. I don't think that this matchup is, basically affected too much by the top laners themselves.
Oh, so you're saying like, it's an island, right? But one of the junglers, Jesus Juice or Counter, is going to just like, row in with their little boat and be like, yeah, I got you, bro. Here are the supplies for your island. And then,
Hmm.
they'll win. Okay, so looking at that though, knowing Literal Monkeys, Jesus Juice kind of just runs around the map and makes a whole bunch of leads for himself, not so much for Barry Donut. I do think that Literal Monkeys really likes to play towards their bot lane as well. Wonderworld and Pink Penguin. Obviously playing very aggressively. Pink Penguin usually on like the Nautilus or the Thresh or even the Blitzcrank, stuff like that. And Wonderworld, obviously that very famous Twitch pick that we saw a few weeks ago. I think my question is looking at Project Iconic, right? We saw Shy Winter play Ash that first game as well. I really want to see if Project Iconic opts for something like that again this week, where they give Shy Winter and Tala more utility-based champions, being like, all right, good luck, guys. We're going to just wait until you guys scale and we can play team fights and stuff like that. I really want to see how Project Iconic plays towards Literal Monkeys and, just how Literal Monkeys will fire back. So, Clutch, my last question for you regarding this series. Looking at Literal Monkeys and Project Iconic, do you agree with Brown Ale in that, like, is it just about the junglers this entire series? Or do you think that even their mid laners, No Name and Deatholo, do you think they'll be able to match up to each other and affect the map themselves from there?
I feel like both mids kind of play this lane style where they both will pick scaling and then play towards team fights. So I feel like mid really isn't going to be as impactful as people think. This isn't the type of mid laners that are going to be like locking like the Twisted Fate and be like roaming. This is not how these mids play. They play as the carry. And Literal Monkeys, I think it's all, yeah, we'll see how the jungle matchup is going to go because Jesus Juice still, I think, is the best jungler in the league. Like, this guy's absolutely insane in the jungle. And we'll have to see what Counter is going to do for Iconic. I feel like Counter he's shown in the past couple of weeks that he's getting better, and he's their engaged player. He's the one that is going in and making plays. And I feel like Literal Monkeys kind of rely on Jesus Juice to do that also. So I feel like this jungle matchup is going to be huge for both teams. And whoever is able to get ahead in the jungle, especially on potentially, if Jesus is going to lock in a carry. Obviously, if he can get the snowball rolling, I feel like LTMK kind of runs over the series. But if Counter is able to stop that, then I think Project Iconic has a bit of a chance. However, I feel like Literal Monkeys laners probably just win outright. So Counter would have to find a big enough lead in the jungle to be able to help his laners, which, in my opinion, I don't see that happening, which is why I think like LTMK has a really good shot at winning. But, it could happen. I mean, again, St. Peter's Peacocks, 15 seed. Look how far they made it in March Madness. So, like, anything can happen. It's week 7. Everything goes crazy in week 7. So we'll see.
Yeah. With that, we're going to look at that next series. We have VBU versus Aftermath. So I actually could not decide what I wanted to vote for. I was like, Aftermath didn't let me down last week, but at the same time, VBU, I've really liked the improvement I've seen from them across the split. So I did say 2-1 for VBU. I think they need someone to believe in them, everyone needs a little. This is my hot take of the week. I feel like I let myself have one hot take, and then all the other ones, I'm like, okay, need to be cold now in the points. So that's mine. I did think it was just really coming down to who plays that early game more effectively, right? And I think both these teams are really, really great at team fighting. I really like how they play together as a 5-man unit. So I bet there's like just one thing that really swings the series towards VBU's favor, but it really doesn't go too much further than that for my analysis. So Brown Ale, you said 2-1 for Aftermath Esports. Watching them play last week against Literal Monkeys, how do you feel they stack up against VBU in terms of just their overall playstyle?
So I think that these teams are very even in the way that they played the game. The reason why I kind of said a 2-1 is just because of seeding at this point, right? We're looking at the kind of first place / second place team versus VBU, and so I say that this is a very even matchup, and the only reason why I made it a 2-1 is just due to the seeding. I think it can go either way. It just depends on who comes to play it today.
Yeah, if you think about it, VBU's only actually one win behind Aftermath and Literal Monkeys. So I really like I said, what VBU's been doing across these past few weeks and how they've grown, just from watching them and all that kind of stuff. So, Clutch, you said 2-1 for Aftermath Esports as well. Do you have anything to disagree with what Ale said?
I feel like Aftermath, coming off their win last week, are going to ride that one and take down VBU. Now, I think VBU is a good team, and they're not going to roll over and die. They're not just going to say, all right, you're just going to slap us. I feel like VBU, especially with genetics coming in, this is a team that I feel like can contend with some of the best teams in the league. Like this team has finally solidified a play style and they have the firepower to be able to take down some of these top teams. Like this is going to be a close series. I don't see Aftermath 2-0ing. I think it's going to be very close, but I'm going to have to give the edge to Aftermath. They're coming off of a huge win over Little Monkeys. It seems they found a style that works for them, and I feel like Aftermath are just slightly better at the moment than VBU.
Yeah, I mean, Aftermath obviously has been really consistent over the entire season. So, like, yeah, it really does depend, like, how, who wakes up on the right side of the bed, I think, for this series for sure. So, looking at these two rosters, like you just said, Old Man Genetics really coming in clutch for VBU, coming into the ADC position, in Aftermath Esports actually switching from Ikazuchi from the top lane to ADC. So, Ale, my question for you, looking at these two, right? How do you think Aftermath wants to play against VBU, right? Knowing that they have these kind of new ADCs down there, do you play around the bot lane, or do you just kind of let everyone else do their own thing and play more like mid jungle or jungle top or whatever have you?
I mean, I think that this game is going to come down to objectives, right? So I think that you're going to have to play around your objectives, which would coincide with playing bot mid side. Unless you're trying to end the game early, then you can play around that Rift Herald. But I think that they're probably going to play bot mid, and I think that's correct. I think that in this matchup, like whoever has the lead on those on like dragons or like mainly dragons, will be able to dictate team fights between these two teams who like to team fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we'd like to see. If only this was, I wish we could stream all the series and take a look at all of them. But with that, we're going to move on and look at that next series between Clown Gaming and Hyperion. So we're looking at these two bottom teams, Clown Gaming being 1-5, and Hyperion sharing that same record. Clutch, you and I both agreed 2-1 for Clown Gaming. Do you think this just comes down to like whoever's more desperate, whoever just comes in and plays a crazier comp, or what do you think's going to happen for Clown Gaming that pulls them into a 2-1?
So Clown Gaming, the reason why I have them winning, now this series, obviously it's the battle for most likely sixth place. You win this one, you're most likely in. However, we didn't talk about Roulette, who was on Clown Gaming and now is the Hyperion starting jungler. He now has a chance to knock out his old team he played for. It's like the revenge tour. Clown Gaming's not going to want to let him in the playoffs, obviously. They left, he's off the team. And for him, he's like, I can knock out my old team and make it in. Reason why I have Clown Gaming 2-1, this is going 3 games no matter what. Like, this is such a close matchup. You could flip a coin, I feel like, and you could probably pick either one. It's 50-50. But I feel like the biggest thing for me, at least for Clown Gaming, is I'm looking at the top lane matchup, and I have a feeling this is one of those series where CH Gaming really can take over. Like, I feel like lanes are going to go even in this, and CH Gaming will be able to just absolutely steamroll the game and 1v9. Like, if he's going to 1v9 any series, this is a series he has a chance at doing. Hence why I said 2-1, but it's not going to be a 2-0. Obviously these two teams are not clean in closing out series. They're not clean at closing out games. So I have a feeling that, one of these games, a team's not going to be able to close out and the other team will just come back and win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a good match, but there's a bunch of storylines in this game. And obviously it's not the stream match, but a lot of games this week, really, really important for the standings. It always happens like this. Week 7, it's crunch time. You got to win because tiebreakers come in, and those could be the difference between having 2 lives in the playoffs and only having 1. So we'll see. Battle for 6 going to be an absolute banger. It's a 2-1 Clown Gaming.
So, Ale, you said 2-1 for Hyperion. You're kind of on that other side of the coin. Do you agree with Clutch that it's kind of between the top laners that CH Gaming can kind of take the game and run off? Or do you think, honestly, my matchup to watch between these two teams is that mid lane, Inferno SK, constantly just putting a lot of pressure on, especially mid to late game on picks like Victor, stuff that scales like that, versus Kills or Silent moving into that mid lane, also showing pretty well what they can do. So, Ale, looking at your 2-1 for Hyperion, how do you think these two really duke it out?
So I think that on any other day, I would probably go to a Clown Gaming. But I think that it's week 7, right? Hyperion's not had a good season. Everyone is counting Hyperion already out, right? I think that this is one of those moments where um, people will underestimate, just what a team can do, and that's sometimes just enough for that team to sneak in a win. I, I think that's pretty much what will happen. Um, I think that all the games will probably be close. I just think that potentially Hyperion can catch Clown Gaming napping on them.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a close series for sure. Where, like you said, it's just gonna be like who's gonna bring their best game tonight for it. So, with that, we're gonna move on and look at our streamed and final series of this week. We have FTD Darken versus Collective Experience. I was about to say Clown Experience, but Clutch, you said FTD Darken 2-1. We all kind of agree that this is going to be a 3-game series. So, Clutch saying 2-1 for FTD, obviously. This is also like semi a hot take for me, but at the same time, I just kind of believe, we have Ale on the show. I wanna support the guy, thank him for coming out. So, Clutch, you said 2-1 FTD. What makes you think it's gonna swing into their favor?
So obviously the series going 3 games. I think we all can agree this is going to be a very close series. The reason why I'm going to say I think FTD is going to take it, I feel like FTD this season has really been punching above their weight class, at least in my opinion, and I feel like they're going to continue to do that. One player, obviously, that a lot of people talk about, Uncool Squash. I think he's an exceptional mid laner, and I feel like he can really take advantage of the mid matchup and end up carrying this game. But Collective's too good to go down 2-0. This matchup's so close. I feel like Collective, I could for sure see winning this one. My eyes are going to be on Uncool Squash. What can he do? Also, Raining Wolves is pretty solid top laner, but obviously, Collective have Ale in the top lane, so I feel like they kind of get neutralized. Biggest concern for me, though, for FTD, where I could see them potentially losing, is the bot matchup. I feel like Collective has a very solid bot lane, and FTD, I would say they have a good bot lane, but I think Collective's bot lane is just a bit better, and I feel like if Collective's going to end up winning a game, it's going to be around their bot lane in this series, and I feel like they'll be able to take a game. But overall, I feel like FTD Darken coming in, they're 3-1 in their past 4. They've really been showing the league that, hey, we're a legitimate team. And for the side of Collective, I believe they're 2-2 in their past 4. So that's kind of what gives me a slight edge picking FTD over Collective. But regardless, this is going to go 3 games, and we all agree that, hey, this is going to be a 3-game series, and it's going to be a really good one, especially on stream. It's going to be really fun to cast.
Yeah, my eyes are definitely on that bot lane. I really like I said earlier, what Marty Squared did with the aggressive bot lane picks, like that Twitch. I really want to see what kind of priority they have, even between the ADC picks, right? ADC Marty really liking that Jinx and Twitch. I really want to see how Hello 301 answers and what they pick for them. Obviously with the most played like Kaisa, right? Like do you give them the Jinx and then you pick your Caitlyn, or I really want to see what goes down in the bans and picks, especially in that bot lane. I think that's really where the tips start to scale for either team. So Ale, since this is your series, I would love to hear what your thoughts are going into FTD.
So I'm not going to reveal too much, but again, like I was saying earlier, whenever we were talking about it in our on the reviews of last week's games, there is a statistic out there that we have an advantage in this game. Uh, Funny enough, but I think that this game still is close, right? I don't think this is just going to be a win out. But who knows, right? Like I think that it comes down to a lot of what the draft will look like. I think that if like draft can kind of go wonky and then uh it'll kind of for one team and that could throw the game, but who knows? We'll see.
Right. Okay, so without leaking strats, I'd want to ask you, who do you think is your MVP on your team? You can say yourself if you really want to.
Um oh I honestly cannot give like I honestly think that that is probably the hardest thing for our team, right? Because if the problem with our team is that like if one of our pieces isn't doing their job correctly, we're kind of uh we can't really play the styles that we want to play. So if I want to go with like options, like I'd say Lacuna has to be my choice for like just kind of like how like kind of how pivotal he is around the team. Just because he is kind of that backup carry that we need. So I think that's kind of someone that a lot of people kind of sleep on.
Yeah, I mean, really overall, I think that both you guys and FTD, this is going to be a very close and like well fought series between you guys. So, I mean, we're just about to start and see it all go down. Unless you guys rescheduled and Cole didn't tell me. We're gonna be starting to watch your guys' series in just about 10 minutes here. So, Ayla, if you have any closing remarks, anything that your team wanted you to say, or anything you want to say to your team.
Uh, Not really. I think that I've kind of made things clear to my team, and I think that it's just going to be a fun game to watch. So,
Yep, for sure. We're gonna have me on the cast. Yeah, unfortunately, we have no color casters that we have to resort to me. My bad, guys. Sorry. So it's gonna be me on the color for tonight, and we'll have Clutch play by play. So hopefully we see you guys at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna watch FTD Darken take on Collective Experience. Thank you, Ale, for being on the show tonight. It was really nice having you. So good luck to all of you guys. Good luck to you, Ale, and FTD fans and everyone else. So hope you guys have a good rest of your evening. Good luck in your guys' games, and make sure to tune in. In just about 10 minutes here, we're going to watch FTD Darken and Collective Experience. See you guys soon.